Tonight's species comes in blue, green, and yellow, and certainly are high flyers of the deep blue sea. Some people call them mahi, dorado, or dolphin. Nevertheless, they are great on the dinner plate. This is the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, powered by Harbor Trucks and presented by Yamaha.
Hello, fellow anglers, and welcome to another week of the Florida Insider Fishing Report. And Rick, what an audience we have with us today. What do you think? There's like so many people here. Love
Certainly,
it.
dolphin are so very popular.
They are, and as you mentioned, dolphin is our species, and I know it ranks as one of our favorites, either to fish for, to eat, or just to stare at because they're so dang beautiful.
You know, Brie, I'm gonna give you a sportsman's adventure little tidbit.
Okay.
For 15 years, we were cursed. We couldn't catch a fish over 20 pounds.
What?
But we did a show in the Bahamas, and when we broke the curse, a 70-pounder with Tom Mackin from Rapala. How cool is that?
Dang, you broke that curse, all right, I'd say. All right, well, Dave at the CCA Workbench, I think would agree, too, that it's on everyone's favorite list,
I'm
right?
telling you, I could endure a curse for that long if I can catch a 70-pounder. You know, it's worth a
That'd be
long
worth it.
curse to catch a 70-pound dolphin because that's an old dolphin. And
That would
we'll talk a little bit
definitely
about
be
that
worth
later,
it.
about how old they get and how big they get so
And
quickly.
the state record is 80 pounds, so
Yeah, that's
that's
close.
Perfect.
That's right.
That's a big one.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we've got special guests, a massive audience, and lots of captains to get to. So we're going to start off our Mahi Madness in the Casa Vieja Southeast region with Jimbo Thomas, who definitely knows a thing or two about these guys. So let's hear it, Jimbo.
Hey, Bree, hey, Rick, and everybody in the audience there. Well, let's talk about dolphin, mahi, dorado, whatever you want to call them. They're one of the most popular fish for the Southeast region offshore anglers here. Now, we can find them year-round, but late May through August are peak seasons. Now, we do catch plenty of dolphin along the edge of the Gulf Stream on live baits that are drifted or fished under the kites that are intended for sailfish. But when we really target dolphin in the summer months, we'll generally head offshore in search of color changes, weed lines, floating debris, and bird activity. And a good pair of binoculars with a compass, that's one of our most valuable tools for locating birds working over those fish. Now, running and gunning, it's a great way to cover a lot of ground looking for fish, but I find that you miss a lot of stuff that might be otherwise seen if you go a little bit slower. So what I like to do is fast troll small to medium-sized lures. We go roughly 8 to 10 knots while looking for signs of fish. And you can use rig baits like ballyhoo, flying fish, and strips. They work good, but at that speed, they wash out. So we like to go with some lures. And the key to catching dolphin is to find them and cover a lot of ground. And so you got to cover a lot of water. So we put lures out at those 8 to 10 knots. And once we do find the fish, we use 20-pound spinners with 50-pound mono leaders. And I like to use J-hooks because they're a lot easier to unhook with the J-hooks. And we cast live pilchards or cigar minnows or cut bait, and I like to use ballyhoo for the cut bait because it really stays on the hook good, and bonita stays on the hook good as well. Now, lately the fish have been anywhere from 3 to 5 miles offshore, mostly under birds, and it's been frigate birds mostly. And there hasn't been much in the way of weed lines. It's been really scattered out all over the ocean, making it hard to fish at times. But that can change overnight. There could be a big weed line out there tomorrow. Now, most of the fish have been schoolies, and they've been running in small packs, and most of them have been in the 3 to 5 pound range with the bulk of, with a few larger fish mixed in. Now, I got a photo here, and this is a 30-pound cow dolphin that we caught off Key Biscayne last weekend, and there was a big bull swimming with that, but we couldn't get the bull to eat, so he's still swimming around out there. Now, we're also starting to see more blackfin tuna, which is exactly what is supposed to happen this time of the year. These blackfins, which have been in the 20 to 30-pound range, they're being caught on live herrings and pilchards, fished under the kite or on the drift in 100 to 250 feet of water. And we've been scaling down to 30-pound fluorocarbon leader and 4.0 to 6.0 circle hooks. Now, the best bite on these blackfins is going to be late in the afternoon and just before the sun sets, although with this overcast weather that we've had the last few days, the bite has been steady throughout the day. Now, moving inshore, still plenty of tarpon in the 50 to 100-pound range, and they're eating live crabs and shrimp and also live mullet. We've had a lot of mullet around lately in fishing in the inlets and around the bridges of the Intercoastal Waterway. Drift those live baits in the mouths of the inlets on both the incoming and outgoing tides early in the mornings and then into the evenings. And then around the bridges and docks, you want to fish the shadow lines on the outgoing tides with live and artificial baits. And then on the calm days, these tarpon are being found off the beaches of the entire region and also along the outside flats from Key Biscayne south to Angelfish Creek. And these fish can be sight fished with swimming rapalas, 4-inch jerk baits, and live crabs, mullet, and also crab pattern flies. And then we got bonefish and permit up on the flats. You know, last week with the nice weather, the permit and bonefishing was really good. And if we can get a break with this nasty weather, the fish are still out there. Our good buddy, Captain Joe Gonzalez, he's been finding bonefish up to 10 pounds on the oceanside flats of Sands and Elliott Keys, on the hard bottom flats, and 2.5 to 3 feet of water on the top of the outgoing tide. Now, Captain Joe's been using crab pattern flies and small silver dollar-sized blue crabs, but if you don't have live crabs, live shrimp, or pink or brown skimmer jigs, will also get the bites. The permits have also been on the oceanside flats from Ragged Keys to Caesars Creek, and they're over the hard bottom flats with good current, and he's been using crabs and crab pattern flies. Now, to look for these bonefish and permit, look for activity on the flats, signs like stingrays, sharks, and even turtles moving along, and those are all good signs of fish foraging in those areas. Now, I got a photo here. This is a bonefish, which was the final fish completing Rudy Balboa's Flats Grand Slam just the other day, and he was fishing with Captain Joe Gonzalez.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the southeast region. Jimbo says that this weekend you should go offshore, look for the blackfin tuna, sailfish, and kingfish. Use live baits along the edge of the Gulf Stream late in the afternoon. And then inshore, drift live baits through your local inlet for nighttime snook and tarpon.
All right, next up we have our FaceTime fave from the Strike Zone Northeast region, Captain Tommy Derringer. What's going on, Tommy?
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Brie. Hey, Rick. Good to see you guys. You know what? We've had a great run of dolphin here this spring, and you know what? We've still got it going on here in the Strike Zone Northeast region. You know, the best time of year to catch dolphin here is going to usually be April through May, and this spring has not disappointed. You know, a lot of the charter captains that I talk to, they're catching 10 to 20 fish on just about every trip, and they're catching some big dolphin at that. Now, I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com. He tells me he's been catching double-digit numbers of dolphin over the last few weeks. He tells me he's catching his fish by doing what he calls open water fishing. And he said there hasn't really been a defined current edge, and so the fish have been a little scattered. He's looking for those slick edges, a temperature break, or any kind of weeds or debris. And the weeds have been a little scattered, just like Jimbo was saying down in his region. You're going to want to pull naked or skirted ballyhoo, as well as mini chuggers. He's trolling like 6 to 8 knots, and he's also going to have a couple of pitch rods ready at all times. I also spoke to Captain Robert Johnson from JodyLynnCharters.com. He tells me he's been doing the open water thing as well, but most of his fish have been coming right at the ledge or even just a little bit deeper. Now, Robert says the trolling's been good, and you know he's expecting it to be good heading into the end of the month. And I got a couple of pictures here. The first one, this is the Creeder family with some nice dolphin they caught aboard the J-Hook with Captain Jason. And then the second picture, this is Aaron and Jordan Johnson with a nice dolphin they caught east of St. Augustine aboard the Liberty Risk. A lot of good dolphin fishing happening right now. Now also offshore, you know, the trolling action, like I just said, it's been really consistent, so not a lot of people bottom fishing. So my second species is going to be tuna again this week. You know, you can find those blackfins in the same areas that you're finding those dolphin. And I did speak to Captain Shane Stover. He went to the other side of the Gulf Stream out of Ponce Inlet this week. You know, they caught some really nice yellowfin tuna along with some big blackfins as well. And Captain Shane said they were finding some huge mats of grass out there, and that's where those big tuna were hanging out. Now moving inshore, you know, the trout bite continues to be great throughout the region. We've had a lot of rain and a big influx of fresh water this week. So some of the better trout catches are probably going to come from the areas that are closer to the inlets where that water is going to be a little cleaner and a little saltier. Low tide is right at first light this weekend, and the first of the incoming is going to bring some of that clean water into those inlets. Now I'm going to be fishing around Matanzas Inlet. I'm looking for shell bars as well as grass points, any of those areas with moving water, and I'm tossing a Rapala Skitter Walk or a Skitter V first thing, And then as the tide and the sun start to get up a little bit, I'm going to switch to either a soft plastic paddle tail or maybe a free-lined or floated live shrimp. Now the docks, rocks, and any kind of riprap near the St. Augustine and the Mayport inlets, that's going to be a good bet for an early morning topwater trout this weekend as well. And I got a trout picture here. This is my man Jackson with a nice trout that he caught with me recently on a shell bank just south of Matanzas Inlet on the incoming tide. Now also in short, we've had a good snook bite happening over the last couple of weeks, especially in the south end of the region. I spoke to Captain Kent Gibbons from backcountrycaptain.com, and he tells me the snook bite in the Tomoka River is pretty good right now. Kent's targeting shorelines, runouts, and brush piles with a 4.5-inch DOA paddle tail in that Arkansas glow color. He's rigging that on a 7/0 weedless worm hook. Now, Ken said with all this rain, you're also going to want to look for those freshwater runoffs leading into the river and the Tomoka Basin. Those snook, they're going to stage up in front of those little runouts looking for small minnows and anything else that might be washed out of there. He's catching a lot of smaller snook, but there's some nice slot-sized snook in there as well. We've also had a good snook bite happening in the Palm Coast area. I've been on them pretty good last couple of days. The Palm Coast canals have been holding some snook up to the slot size during lower light conditions. Subsurface plugs like a Rapala, twitch, and mullet tossed at either daybreak or at sunset have been working really well. And Long Creek in Palm Coast has also been holding some good snook and some small tarpon during those same times. But a free-line live shrimp tossed up current of points and oyster bars has been the ticket. And speaking of Long Creek snook, I've got one last picture here. This is my good buddy Captain Gibb from the angryseas.com with a nice snook he caught in an offshoot of Long Creek down there in Palm Coast.
Boy, you covered the region real well this week. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Northeast region. Offshore, mahi, tuna, wahoo at the ledge throughout the region, and then inshore, trout along the shell bars and any structure near all the area inlets on the early morning incoming tide.
All right, we're coming up with your Florida Keys report next, which you can be sure to hear some dolphin talk. But first, we have to hear what Dave and Sarah are talking about over at the CCA Workbench. Guys.
Well, we're talking about dolphin, just like you said. We're
really?
We're gonna tell you how to catch them and where to go and
get them.
I don't know.
Eat them.
All kinds of
Does
stuff.
Sarah know anything about dolphin over there, Dave?
I imagine she catches them all the time. Probably catches more than we do.
Probably. I'm gonna guess yes. All right, we'll be right back, guys.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Always in the game. SiriusXM Marine. Weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. Daiquiri Deck. Sarasota's favorite place to meet. And Sea Sucker. Get pumped.
Harbor Trucks features the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
And this month, it's invoice pricing for everyone.
That's right, you pay what we pay.
Get a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan for only $26,500.
No games, no gimmicks, just hassle-free buying at low, low, low prices.
Check us out now at harbortrucks.com and enter to win a 2018 Nissan Titan XD 4x4 diesel.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide-and-seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Welcome back, everyone. We're now going to take a look at the FWC news and notes. May 18th is the Sebastian Inlet PS Boating Course, and May 19th is the Lionfish Removal and Awareness Festival in Perdido Key. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now let's head to the CCA workbench for some rigs and techniques.
So we're over here at the Academy Sports Rigs and Techniques,
Yep.
CCA workbench, and today we're talking about one of my favorite fish to catch and to eat.
Yep.
Dolphin, that is.
They're a lot of people's favorite because, a dolphin is the perfect game fish. And we call them that because they're beautiful. They get big really fast. A dolphin, but 90% of the dolphin we catch are under 2 years old because they can grow, 20 pounds a year. So think about it, how many 40-pound dolphins do you catch?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not many. So most of them are under 2 years old. When they get to be 5 years old, they get to be 80 to 100 pounds. And boy, they fight like crazy when they get that big. They fight like crazy all the time, and that's another reason why we love them.
Such a fun fight. They light up blues and greens.
Yeah, they're jumping around. They're the, again, they're the perfect game fish. And
they make a killer fish sandwich.
Well, you catch a lot of them down there in the Keys. What do you guys do?
We do. We can catch them on live bait, lures, or we can troll a ballyhoo. And I like to keep a spinner ready to go because when we're trolling and we do hook one, there's usually the school that comes with it, so we're able to just cast at them.
All right. Well, dolphin are schooling fish. If you catch one, you can usually figure there's another one around. And if you catch a big cow, like Jimbo said, you can probably figure that there's a big bull with her because they usually don't let a big cow swim around by themselves. And a lot of times that they'll let the cow eat first, which is kind of weird, but a lot of times we'll catch the cow and then catch the bull second. I mean, that's happened to me many times. I don't think they're being chivalrous or whatever.
Yeah.
But
what a gentleman.
Yeah, he's a good fella. I'm glad they don't get to be 200 pounds because if you hooked them when they weigh they fight so hard. They'll drag a marlin backwards through the water. A 100-pound one would. I mean, they're so awesome. But I brought a lot of stuff that, when I'm fishing up at the Cape Canaveral and I'm going fishing, I'm only fishing for two things really. I'm fishing for dolphin and wahoo. And this is a lot of the stuff that I, fish with. And one of my favorite things are the island lures, like the little tracker here, or, the Sea Star is one of my favorite ones, or just the regular island lure, a blue and white one that looks like a flying fish. And you put a little ballyhoo behind that thing, and you're going to catch fish on them. Everything eats those things. You can use a single hook rig, or you go buy you some bait masters, double hook rigs. If you're going to be using these really nice lures, like island lures that are a little pricey, use wire, because when you're in Florida, you're fishing in sometimes pretty shallow water. There's a lot of barracudas and wahoos and other things, and you'll be out there trying to catch some wahoos with some dolphin, and then you'll end up losing your stuff to wahoos or barracuda and whatnot. I also like to use these little gummy flyers. These is a really
cute.
Yeah, it's a real. Dolphin love flying fish, so anything that's a flying fish imitator is going to get bites. I also like to use a lot of sea witches and stuff. When you're pulling ballyhoo, we can add a sea witch of any color that you prefer. I'm not real sure what colors dolphin can see, but I know that they can see blue because they're swimming around in all that blue, and they're swimming around with other fellas who have blue and yellow, so I imagine they can see yellow pretty good too. So you got yellows and pinks and whatever colors you prefer, put out, because they're going to eat whatever you put out. Whatever you're most confident in.
They're not too picky.
No, they're usually going to eat it. If you drive over them, you're gonna get a bite out of them.
And then,
also, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, also I like to use a bird sometimes. We fish for dolphins a lot of times in the heat of the summer. Right now is a good time to be fishing for them. But during the heat of the summer, when you can't seem to get a bite, sometimes putting a bird out there in front of your offering, whatever it is, will get them to come up and see what the heck that bird is doing. Because dolphin are they're very sight oriented, and they can see things above the water. And one of the coolest things I ever saw in my life was I was in Costa Rica one time, and there was a flying fish flying, and there was a dolphin greyhounding behind him and a bird right behind him. And they all three disappeared in the same hole. Well, if you're around dolphin, if you see a bunch of them around the boat and you make a cast, sometimes you can see them speed away to chase your lure. They're very cognizant of what's going on above the surface of the water because they're chasing those flying fish. So anything that you can do to to get their attention, you're going to do great. One thing about dolphin that, we're trying to push circle hooks all the time because, they're very good for a lot of fishing and they're good for letting fish go. They're not that great for dolphin fishing because when a dolphin eats something and swallows it, he accelerates so quickly a lot of time. If he feels any pressure, if you have the drag locked up, it's just like jerking on the rod or reeling it away from him really fast. So you end up pulling the hooks a lot when you're using a circle hook and trying to catch a dolphin. So this is one fish. Go ahead and put your J hooks out.
And then we find them on the weed line, floating debris.
Right.
You can look for the birds when you see the frigate birds diving down.
Right. They'll always be usually around something. So
Yeah.
the ocean's a big empty. If there's anything in the ocean, they're going to be around it. So there you go.
All right, back to you, Rick.
Well, good job. Learned a lot. The Keys always seems like it has it all, and Captain Randy Tao says that dolphin is no exception, Rick. So, Randy, talk to us.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. This time of year, dolphin is one of the most popular offshore fish you're going to go after, and it's been pretty good. Day in, day out for the last couple of weeks, despite the weather, with the rain and the wind and everything else we've been having, guys are finding dolphin. Now, you say that, and you think, okay, I'm just going to drive out there 400 feet, and I'm going to put a bait out and catch a dolphin. Well, it's not really that easy. What you want to do is find something that's going to favor the fish to be there. Weeds, bird, debris, anything like that. When you see those birds working, you know there's some fish in the area. Stop, start fishing, or start looking to see if you see the dolphin. And especially when those birds are flying around, you'll see the flying fish get up underneath the birds because the dolphin are pushing the bait to the surface. Therefore, that's why the birds are there. I like to get out in an area where I know they're around, and I just blind troll. And I'll troll with 2 ballyhoos, and I'll look in my binoculars, and I'll see birds, and I'll get lined up with them. I was talking to Captain Brian Cohn, who's our resident dolphin expert, and he spends a lot of time stopping his boat, looking around, and then he takes off in a particular direction. And a lot of these fish are going to be swimming to the southwest or the northeast. And what that means is the direction the fish are going to be traveling into the current or with the current. And sometimes if you get out of that line, you get out of the fish. So keep that in mind when you get on a school of fish, that you can stay with them. And it's nice to have somebody on the boat that can drive it in that direction and stay around those fish. And, being ready, being prepared, having your rods to not have to rig, put a bait on and throw it is key, because a lot of times you may only have one situation during the day where you can really capitalize, and you got to be prepared. I've got a photo of a dolphin. It's not a 50-pounder. Size really doesn't matter here. What's really cool about this picture, 2-year-old Isaac with his dolphin, and he was fishing with his dad, Captain James Simsick, with Spear Crazy Charters and Marathon. That's one of 13 species he has caught so far.
Oh.
You go, little dude. That's awesome.
Let's sign him up, Randy. What do you think?
You got competition. I'm telling you right now. I don't want to say it on air, but you got somebody on your heels right here coming up.
Yeah, he's a lot cuter than I am. All right, let's talk about wahoo fishing, bud.
The wahoo bite has remained pretty steady. We normally get a pretty good bite in the wintertime, but it's just lasted a lot longer. We've got blue water on the edge of the reef, so therefore a lot of the wahoos are being caught in that 150 to 200-foot range. But also, when the guys get offshore and they find a floating piece of debris, especially right now, there's a lot of wahoos around that debris. So if you see something floating, troll a bait down deep. You don't have to get too deep. 10, 20 feet is good. And a lot of times you're going to pick up a wahoo around anything floating, or you can stop and drop a live bait down or a vertical jig. But plenty of wahoos right now offshore for the guys dolphin fishing if they find something floating. And the guys inshore, they're live baiting Speedos. That's the bait of choice for us. And guys are doing pretty well. Again, talking to Captain Brian Cohn, who's really the dolphin guru, but he catches everything for the most part. His charter boat, the Contagious, out of Robbie's, does a pretty amazing job. I've got a photo that he sent me a couple of days ago of John Skidmore with a nice wahoo they caught under a piece of debris.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Bone fishing. I'm talking a lot more about bonefish lately because they've been around, they've been cooperating, and Rick, you and I know how they don't cooperate most of the time. So for me to say anything good about a bonefish, I'm really reaching here to try to be nice to these things. But the truth of the matter is, when the conditions are right, they've been around, and they're not big fish. You know, a lot of these fish might be 12 inches, 18 inches. A 5-pounder nowadays is a big one. But the incoming tide is always a good time. Lately, it's been on either tide. As long as you got moving water, that seems to be the key, and enough water on top of the flat for the fish to be there. I was talking to Captain Dave Dankert, who fishes out of the Lorelei. He really knows the bonefish. He's got them dialed in. And the one thing about the Keys guides, they know what time to be where, and that's really key. When you're paying somebody to take you to catch a fish, these guys know when to be there. And I've got a photo of Carmen Perez with one of her 10 bonefish she caught a few days ago with Dave.
Nice. Dave's a veteran guide, isn't he, Bub?
He really is. I'll tell you what, he's one of us, and he still gets it done every day.
Yes, he does. Tell me about the tarpon fishing.
The tarpon bite's still going on pretty strong. A lot of guys still fishing the bridges. The fly fishing guys are pretty grumpy because it's been overcast and raining for the last week. And the bite's been tough. On the ocean, when you're fly fishing, trying to cast with the wind and the muddy water, it's a struggle. So guys are resorting to bait fishing around the bridges. Now, Long Key's been hot. I've been cast netting my own mullet with my Calusa cast net and doing pretty well without having to buy them. But, you definitely want to have that phone number if you need live mullet, because that's key. I've got a photo of Peter Fullerton with a nice big tarpon we caught at Long Key.
That's a nice fish. All right, thank you so much, Randy. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys. Inshore bonefish fish the high part of the tide through the mid-low tide, so as it's starting to fall, and look for those tailing fish or off-colored water. And then offshore, wahoo troll a bait at 10 to 20 feet down, and any floating debris, drop a live bait down and wait for the bite. It's that simple.
It's that simple, guys. All right, there's always tournaments going on in the Keys, so let's take a look at what's coming up. Special flies, accurate casts, and a bit of luck are the recipe to win the prestigious Loop Goldenfly Invitational Tarpon set for May 20th to the 23rd in Isla Mirada. Participants must use only tournament-furnished tippet, not greater than 16-pound test. The Skipper's Dolphin Tournament is scheduled for June 1st through the 3rd in Key Largo. There's more than $60,000 in cash and prizes. The Veterans of Foreign Wars Fishing Tournament, set for Saturday, June 9th in Key West, is a family-oriented tournament offering cash prizes in different divisions. The Ladies Tarpon Fly Tournament, scheduled for June 13th through the 15th in Isla Mirada, is an all-release fly fishing invitational attracting many premier lady fly anglers. That sounds like a fun one. All right, let's check in with Andy Newman and see what tournaments he has for us. Go for it, Andy.
Andy?
Well, hi, guys. The Lower Keys Chamber of Commerce presents the silver anniversary of its annual Lower Keys Dolphin Tournament, June 1st to the 3rd. Headquartered at Kiki Sandbar on Little Torch Key, the boat tournament features more than $35,000 in cash prizes and awards. There's a special cash prize of $20,000 for the largest dolphin caught over 50 pounds. More details at lowerkeyschamber.com, and more information on all tournaments in the Florida Keys always available at flakeys.com.
Why, thank you, Andy. We're taking a dive into the Northwest and Central East regions next, looking for those Dorado for you. And we also have a special guest from CCA, so stay hooked. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Swift, Silent, Secure, Bass Assassin, and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, any fish, any water, since 1958. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Harbor Trucks features the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country, an on-site towing and test course, and a team of truck specialists. Come line up every make and model in one location and find the truck of your dreams, or we'll build it custom for you. Harbor Trucks, hassle-free buying, and low, low, low prices. Check us out now at harbortrucks.com or 2 miles off I-75 in Port Charlotte, Florida.
Remember, guys and gals, for weekly reports from our 9 captains, you can go to our website at FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at Captain Rick Murphy and Official Insider. And don't forget to go to HarborTrucks.com and register to win a Nissan truck. We will be choosing a winner at the end of the year, so there's still lots of time to sign up. Right, Rick?
Absolutely, you're 100% right. And you know what? We have our special guest, Lisa Fitzgerald from the CCA Star Tournament here in Florida. Now, Lisa, you know, this is our 4th season.
Yeah.
Some things never change.
Oh,
Why
but
don't you tell us?
yeah, things have changed,
Yes,
Rick.
they have.
Not only do we have tagged redfish this year, but since we're talking about dolphin, we also have tagged dolphin. We've released tagged dolphin in the Florida Keys, and the first CCA member who is a registered star angler that catches a tagged dolphin wins $10,000 cash or a scholarship.
Wow, I know I could certainly use that. Not only do we have tagged dolphin, but what else in the dolphin division do we have?
Well, if you catch a dolphin, any dolphin, it just has to be a minimum size. If you will enter that in the tournament, you will have the opportunity to win brand new Yamaha motor and many other prizes. We give 1st through 6th place. So it's really a great opportunity. And not only that, but we have other inshore and offshore species as well.
Okay, so last year, how many redfish did we have captured that were tagged?
Well, we released nearly 160 redfish, and we had 20 recaptured during the tournament.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Guys, it shows that we're actually out there catching them. And that was during the tournament.
That was during the tournament. A total of 24 that year. Yeah.
Wow.
Recaptured. But you know, you have to remember, it's not just about tagged fish. We have 15 other divisions. Non-tagged redfish, tarpon, grouper are some of the new divisions. We have inshore and offshore species. So if you're an angler and you're out fishing this summer, you need to get registered for the competition. It's really easy to do it, Rick. You go online, www.ccafloridastar.com. That's www.ccaflstar.com and get registered.
Now, quickly, you said $500,000 in prizes. Tell me some of those prizes.
$500,000 in prizes. If you catch a star tagged redfish, you win a brand new GMC pickup truck, a Contender, Pathfinder, Hughes, Carolina skiff, or a cottonmouth boat. But those aren't the only things. We have ATVs, we have from Textron, we have other boats, we have motors, and $100,000 in college scholarships which youth anglers can win their share of. I mean, there's just so much. It's very easy to get registered, and it's only $75 if you're not a CCA member, or $40 if you are.
Guys, it's as simple as that. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Brie, we got to keep the train a-rolling.
Enlightening us, Rick. That's
Enlightening.
what it would be. Yes.
That's
The
what I said.
Flagler Construction Equipment Northwest region has got the Dorado goods, but they won't come easy. So, Captain Jeff, if they want them, tell them how to catch them.
They're going to have to go far, and really far at that. On our region, the closest I've ever seen a dolphin is 70 feet of water. So from 70 feet of water on out, we got a lot of those little chicken dolphin that come in, and most of those are going to be out past that 100-foot mark, which is a pretty good run, but they'll be those smaller chickens. And you'll find them around that floating flotsam or any kind of weed line. Any kind of bait out there is going to be a good thing to do. All the stuff that everybody's been talking about, trolling really works. Trolling pink and white and blue and white, soft heads is great, either with or without ballyhoo. but you're really going to have to get out past the shelf to get those big fish, which is a good run for us. But when we're going out there grouper fishing, we're in 120, 160, 170 feet of water. We'll always keep a couple spinning rods, light spinning rods with a 1/4 ounce yellow bucktail. That's a really good bait for dolphin. They like yellow for some reason. And just when you see them going, that school coming out of the boat, stick one, throw it out there, throw them in the rod holder, and then you can get a couple other rods out and catch a nice mess of those smaller ones. But to get out there and get those big ones, you're going to have to make a pretty good run. But what we do have a lot of right now, Captain Billy Nobles out of St. Pete reports a really good permit bite right now in that 35 to 65 foot of water. He's fishing over reefs and wrecks. And a lot of the public numbers will have these permit on them. Crabs are the bait of choice. If you can't get crabs, a tailhook shrimp will sometimes work. But if you got a crab, it's really hard for a permit to turn one down. Your rig needs to be a medium-heavy spinning rod, excuse me, with 20 to 30 pound Suffolk braid, 6 to 8 feet of fluorocarbon leader, and that 25 to 30 pound. That longer leader, when you're using braid, well, they've got really good eyesight, so a real long leader will help you get a few more bites. The smallest hook you can get away with, depending on the size crab you're using, 2 to 4 GMC circle hook is a really good hook. And if there's some current out there on the structure you're fishing, add a little bit of split shot, and that'll help it get down a little bit, and you can drift those right over the structure you're fishing. Moving inshore.
Go ahead, Bub.
Captain Jordan Todd out of St. Joe Bay reports a good trout flounder bite that's beginning to move into the potholes east and south of Black Island. You want to look for sandy areas in the grass and that 3 to 5 foot of water. Live shrimp fished under a cork with a 1/0 circle hook for the trout, or on the bottom with a Carolina rig with a 1/2 ounce of weight with a 1/0 circle hook for the flounder. Also, a pearl white gulp shrimp on a 1/4 ounce jig head has been really effective for both trout and flounder. Average size of the trout right now are anywhere from 15 to 20 inches, and some good ones up to 25 inches. And the average flounder right now is 11 to 16 inches. Moving a little bit further down the coast, Captain Mario Costello out of Homosassa, fishing out of the Plantation Inn, reports that the redfish bite has been kicking into high gear. Lots of large redfish being caught around the oysters, covered shorelines of Yankeetown. These fish have been schooled up around the cuts, washouts, and oyster bars. Fish are schooled up and competing for food, so fast-moving baits like rip and slash or unfair lure, double hookups are not uncommon when you get in those big schools, and most of the schooling fish are running anywhere from 27 to 34 inches.
All right, Bub, thank you so much. Good report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Northwest region. He says inshore tarpon on the beaches and passes and around the Skyway. Use crabs and pinfish free lined under a cork. And then offshore mangrove snappers on the high relief structures in the lower half of the region in 25 to 60 feet of water.
All right, Rick. Well, the Bell Central East region has been seeing those green and blue beauties, but there's also plenty of options if that dolphin bite just isn't happening for you this weekend, right, Jim?
That's exactly right, Brie. You know, prior to this rainy weather that we had, the dolphin bite was really good most of the days, especially last Friday. It was really good. Saturday it slowed down a little bit. This Sunday it picked right back up somewhat. So they're coming through in waves. As they're moving from north or south to north, they're coming through in waves. Most of the guys right now are going to find them in about 160 to 240 feet of water. Did talk with some anglers this past weekend that ran as far as 700 feet of water and got into some good fish, though. So, just because you don't find anything inside doesn't mean you can't push it on out there a little bit farther. Maybe find a good edge or a rip or a temperature break, and that'll be holding some fish. Most of the guys are trolling naked ballyhoo or skirted ballyhoo, and just once you find a group of fish, then they're kind of slowing down, and a lot of times they're throwing pitch baits out, even chunks of bait. Those seem to work. And in that 160 to 240 foot depth, the most consistent areas right now seem to be over hard bottom if you don't find a rip or a color change. So go to areas like the 21 fathom, 27 fathom, the cones, and troll over the top of those. Most of our dolphin right now are running about 15 pounds. But, there are packs of larger fish. Talked with one fellow this past weekend, and he had 7 fish over 25 pounds that all came out of one pack. So you can run across some really, really good fish right now. Now, our other species is gag grouper. Now, the gag grouper action is best in about 180 feet out to about 240 feet. And the Okalina Ridge, that's known as the Steeples or Cones, is always a place that you're going to find big gags. They're there again right now, and they're hitting live baits. And typically, the bigger the better. If you use bluefish, croakers, big chunks of bonita, and other large bait fish, they seem to be working best, and they keep the red snapper from intercepting the baits that you're trying to get down to those grouper. If you get this fish hooked up, you want to try and get them up quickly. Right now, there is a lot of sharks out there, especially sandbars, and a lot of the fish were getting eaten off, and there's no fun reeling up a 30-pound gag that's you get nothing but lips and gill plate because the sharks got to them. So when you get them hooked up, don't mess around. Get them to the boat. Most of the fish right now are running 20 to 35 pounds. Now, swinging inshore, flounder bite's picking back up, which is really cool because we really haven't seen a whole lot of bait showing up throughout the near coastal sections of my Central East region. But I'll tell you what, the flounder bite is getting better at Ponce and Canaveral in particular. Live shrimp's working really good. Mud minnows, you can put them on a jig head, and those white curly tails also work well. Most of the guys are taking the curly tails and spraying them with some Bang or Menhaden shrimp scent. The other fish, the other shrimp, I should say, in the mud minnows, they're putting on one of those Assassin Pro Elite Series jig heads. It's got a nice big hook on it, and it's got a real small hook keeper, so the fish and the shrimp don't get crossed up on it and start to twirl when you pull them back in. Most of our flounder are running 2 to 3 pounds. Some of them are running up into the 5 and 6 pound range. And I've got a picture here of Chris Lamont of Merritt Island with one of those nice dinner plate size flounders that he caught using a live finger mullet in Port Canaveral last weekend. Our last species we're going to talk about is snook, and snook have been up and down this week. The flats of for anywhere from about Rose Bay south, the flats in the backwaters around ponds are holding some snook right now, so don't be surprised if you're looking for reds and trout that you see them. The other place that we're finding them is down in the Sebastian area. Lots of snook on the flats right now and around the Spoil Islands. But it's been at best at the inlets, and it's pretty much going to be best at the inlets through the next couple of weeks. Live shrimp, once again rigged on one of those Assassin Pro Elite quarter-ounce jig heads. Seems to be a real deadly combo on the incoming tides. You want to go with croakers, pigfish, or pinfish on the outgoing tides. Now, if you guys and gals are getting out there at night, especially down at Sebastian on the jetty, or if you're out at Canaveral fishing around the docks and piers, those Rapala X-Rap lures in the size 12 or 14 seem to be working really good. And most of our snook right now are pretty big. They're running 34 to 38 inches. If you give it a good hard go, you probably are going to get 1 or 2 fish that are actually in the slot, but most of those fish are bigger. And I've got a picture here of Ron Welker from Sorrento and his buddy John. They got out with me this past weekend, and they caught some nice snook. And some of those fish are not quite so snooky. You'll get a redfish or 2 that are holding around some of those inlets as well. So don't be surprised if you get some of those big reds. I tell you what, it's going to be a little bit, rainy this weekend. It's going to be a little bit iffy for you guys trying to get out to go offshore, but the inlets and the nearshore waters are still holding fish, so if you get the chance, go out there and try and catch some of these other species.
Okay, Jim, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the sea sucker hotspots from the Central East region. Captain Jim says offshore, gag groupers on the ledges and the wrecks in 160 to 250 feet of water. Use live grunts, pinfish, or croakers on a standard bottom rig. And then inshore, tarpon in edgewater area of the Mosquito Lagoon. Fish that range from 10 to 50 pounds, and they're eating live pigfish and mullet rigged under a floating court.
All right, we're taking a quick break to have some fun with our audience, but when we return, we're checking in with our Central West region, and then we're heading to the CCA workbench for some new product fun with Dave Ferrell.
Yeah, this is all mine, by the way.
For keeping
you
it.
can't have
You're
it.
keeping it?
Rick
Is
said
that how
I could
this
have
works
it.
now?
Stole it.
Rick said I could have it.
We keep things
He
from the
didn't even
workbench.
ask.
I did ask.
Of course, of
Please,
course.
Like a
I
family.
beg.
Look,
All
this
right,
is
we'll
a
be back,
bag.
guys.
I
We're
beg.
going to discuss this.
I
The
beg.
Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Soft Science, Supreme Comfort Footwear. Real Legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 four-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Yeah? Stop working right now! Look outside. Is this spreadsheet weather? No, it's not. This is fishing weather. So stop clicking, get out there, and catch a bass. Stop what you're doing and start fishing Rapala Ripstop.
This is Academy Sports and Outdoors. We offer a huge sports and outdoors selection of top name brand gear like you've never seen. All at low prices like you've never seen. Because we're a sports and outdoor store like you've never seen. Stop by today and see our great selection for yourself. Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less.
We have a bunch of exciting new products for you guys over
As
here
usual.
at the CCA workbench.
Yep.
First, we have the CCA pliers.
Yep, those are the CCA 7.5-inch aluminum pliers there. They're great for saltwater fishing because most of it won't corrode. You know, it's mostly made out of aluminum. It's got tungsten carbide replaceable jaws and cutters that you can replace if you need to. It cuts up to 500-pound mono. I don't know what kind of braid it'll cut, but it'll cut heavy braid. I like it because it's got the cutters on the outside, which, you know, a lot of people put the cutters in there and it's kind of hard to tell where you're actually cutting stuff, but that's really great because you can see everything. Comes with a little lanyard to keep you from dropping them in the water and a molded sheath so you can wear them on your belt like a pro.
Exactly. And they only cost $30, so it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Even if you did drop them in the water, which
Exactly.
is, it's amazing that they're only $30, which, you know, all my pliers cost way more than that for some reason. All right, the next thing we got is this AFCO Barracuda Geo-Cool Performance shirt. There's a lot of names for this, but it deserves it because it does a lot of cool stuff. You know, it's got a mineral-based wicking something built in there that keeps all the stuff away from you. It gets dry really quick. It's got these nice flat seam construction. This is not going to fall apart and get little hairs on it.
Super soft and super light.
Very soft. You know, a lot of these artificial fabrics don't feel that great, but this feels really good. You know, this is built for anglers because they got vents all the way down the sleeves and the sides. You know, if you're going to be out in the sun, you need to be wearing long sleeves and cover up as much as you can. This is a UPF 50. Again, it comes with that quick dry, the antimicrobial. It's even got a aft guard, stain release, Scotch guard. You know, it's a high-tech performance shirt, and that's what it is. It's the Barracuda Geo-Cool high-tech performance shirt from AFCO.
Very cool.
So go out there and get one. Now, this is a really cool thing. You know, I usually don't ask Rick for much.
This
when he
is
brings
what you
stuff
and Rick
in
were
here.
fighting over.
This is what we were fighting over because, you know, I like the Sea Sucker stuff. And that's the Sea Sucker Pro Series tool holder. And, you know, it'll go on like that. But this thing's great because it's got a little place here for your boga grip. I mean, it's etched out there for a boga grip, which is great. It's got all the, you know, holes on the side for you to put your lures and hang them on. You know, it's got a place for a fish club, scissors if you want, pliers. And, you know, it goes right on the side. Yeah, it goes right on the side of your console. This is the new version. You always came in starboard, but this is a smaller footprint, and they also now make it with that cool acrylic look. So, really neat product from Sea Sucker, the Pro Series tool holder. This is a really cool. This is a ripstop from Rapala. You know, I do a lot of bass fishing, and this thing is great for bass, but a snook will eat it. Anything will eat it. It's called a ripstop because it's made to a slash bait. You know, you give it a real hard jerk, and it's got this little stop on the back of the tail here. And what it'll do is when you rip that thing, it'll make it stop just like that. It'll just stop cold, and the front will just lift, and it'll start to come up a little bit. It's a suspender, but it'll just raise up just a little bit. And when you jerk that thing, and it starts to just make that slight upward movement, that's usually when they'll just pile on it.
Yep.
It's got that little lip, 3D eyes, really good hooks. There's 4-ball bearings, you know. It allows you to cast it a long way, and they also create noise, and it also makes it, you know, have that good balance so that it'll just suspend perfectly with those 4-ball bearings.
Fish can't resist it.
That's right. Last but not least, because it's a mahi show, we've got these mahi magnets from Ray Rocher. Ray, you know, he's from the Keys. He's a great fella, and he makes R&R tackle, which makes all kinds of cool stuff.
He knows his stuff.
He does, and if he's making lures that'll catch a dolphin, these will. These come in a variety of different sizes, from 1/2 ounce to 2.5 ounces, and 3.5 inches up to 6.5 inches. They come in a lot of different colors. I just got these because they're the flying fish color, and that's what I prefer to pull. And I'm going to be pulling these after we leave the show. Probably not tonight, but I will be pulling them. And these things are made from, you know, high quality stuff. They got a stiff rig inside with the beads and everything, and nice mustad hooks, you know. And he uses really good swivels and line and everything. Ray makes good stuff because he wants you to catch fish.
Yep.
So check out the R&R tackle and look at the mahi magnets when you go by there. And that's all
Thanks,
she
Dave.
wrote.
And
No
we're
worries.
probably going to take off with the sea sucker, so off to
No,
you,
you
Rick.
can't have that. That one's mine.
Goodness.
Boy,
Rick.
I got to tell you, Brie, Sarah sure makes a lot prettier hand model than myself.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just a tad bit.
I'm not used to seeing such pretty hands
Pretty
holding
hands.
all the stuff.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
All
I
right,
feel
now
like
let's-
I'm out of a job.
You might be. Now let's look into the Startron Central West region, where Captain Jeff Page has got your weekend bite report. Go for it, Paige.
Yeah, you know what, though? Those hands have made you a lot of money.
They have. They have. There you go.
Those hands, that's a working man's hand. Anyway, you guys, once again, the Startron Central West region, we may not be known as a dolphin mahi-mahi destination, but there's plenty of them, and they're caught throughout our entire region, especially through the late spring and summer months, which we have coming up. Unfortunately, it's usually out in deeper water, like starting 100 foot on and out. And where the sun goes as far as looking for them, look for weed lines, look for birds, color changes, anything that might hold some bait and some fish, and you're going to find them. Once you've located them, you can either troll small X-Traps, cedar plugs, or just hit your spot lock and get in that region and start coming up with little threadfins or pilchards to bring the fish up into a frenzy. And then you can cast just about anything you want at them, like a little bucktail jig, little soft plastic rigged on a 3/8 ounce jig head, or just a free line filter. We don't have the big girls like you guys do on the East Coast, but majority of our fish are smaller, schoolie-sized fish, but they're still eating real good.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Moving on.
Jeffrey,
Yes,
what?
sir.
Make sure you hold that phone like you're doing right this second, because you keep garbling in and out, okay, bub? I think
Okay.
it may be
Sorry
the
about
case.
that.
It's okay. Okay, go ahead.
Moving on. Species 2, permit. Permit fishing remains the most consistent offshore species that we've had for the first 2 months of the show, and it continues this week. I've gotten reports as far south as Boca Grande, all the way up to St. Pete Beach, and it's all fish in that 7 out to 15-mile range, holding on wrecks, reefs, and hard bottom areas, especially the areas that you're known to catch the permits in. Live crab is the best bet, and the good news is we've got big, strong outgoing tides all afternoons this week where you can dip plenty of crabs. Get out there on these mornings when it's a little bit calmer. It's not uncommon to see groups of fish floating on top. That being said, you can still anchor or spot lock up current from your hard bottom area, put out a couple free line crabs or a couple with split shots, or mix it up. It's going to get the job done. Permits are averaging 12 to 25 pounds. My photo tonight is of Captain Josh Pruner of Rippin' Lips Charter from Cortez, Florida, with a big permit he got last week.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Inshore, your favorite species, one that tore up those hands of yours, the tarpon, and he is officially in full swing throughout the Startron region. Lots of fish being caught in all the inlets and passes
also along the beaches, and even so, that being said, good nighttime fishery around the bridges near the inlets and passes. Probably the most popular method right now, Rick, is for looking for groups of fish along the beach like you and I have done, anywhere from Anna Maria Island, south to Minnesota Key, even far south as Boca Grande Pass. Look for the fish laid up, slow rolling in the morning. Try and stay off the spool the best you can. Throwing a live crab, threadfin or pinfish. You can free line him or cork him. Guys are using cut bait or live threadfins anchored up in the inlets and passes. And then in the afternoon outgoing tides, which we have this week, backsides of the sandbars, out just outside the inlet, cork crabs have been the bait of choice. The nighttime fishing has been really good around the Venice Gullies and the bridges and Longboat Pass. Guys using live ladyfish and silver mullet have been getting the job done. You like artificials, tough to beat the DOA bait buster in the glow pattern. Look for this good tarpon fishing to continue and only get better as we approach the next full moon. Got a photo tonight of Gene Rusty Driver in his 21 Master Angler, the big old tarpon he got Saturday. Final speak, my favorite, the speckled trout. He remains strong throughout the entire region with some of the best springtime trout fishing we've had in a long time, Rick. Look for these fish holding on your grass flats and mangrove shorelines on the higher stages of the tide along the west side of Lemon Bay from Stump Pass south, also on the outside of Rattlesnake Key and Emerson Point in South Tampa Bay. Guys are having real good luck throwing surface plugs like the bone chartreuse skitterwalk or the live target scaled sardine, soft plastics like the Bass Assassin Houdini 4-inch sea shad rigged on a 1/4-ounce chartreuse jig head. Fish that drop off ledges and potholes on the lower stages of the tide, especially in and around the schools of mullet. My trout photo is of myself tonight with a big trout you can catch with me on a trip, which I'll be raffling off this weekend at the Walt Fish Market annual Tom Wallen Reef Memorial. The benefits, the artificial reef in Sarasota, Gulf of Mexico, and it's going to be a good time on Sunday from noon to 4.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck hotspots from the Central West region. Offshore, amberjacks, lots of AJs throughout the entire region in 50 to 80 feet of water over the reefs and ledges. And then inshore, tarpon, the bite is on with good beach bite throughout the day. Live crabs, thread fins are the best bait.
Garbled.
Garbling.
Is that a word? Garbling?
It's a Rick Murphy word.
Guys,
it's like
garbling a word?
jubilating. Come on, man. Garblating.
They said no, and they're smart.
They're young kids. What do they
Garbling.
know?
Oh, geez. All right. We hope you're enjoying watching the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Coming up next, we're checking with our East and Panhandle regions, but we also want to remind you that if you want to keep up with everything fishing in Florida, all you have to do is visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and view and tag us on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Startron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you.
Trucks is giving away a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan XD with the Cummins Turbo Diesel.
To enter, like our Facebook page and visit harbortrucks.com for more ways to win.
With the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
An on-site towing and test course.
Hassle-free buying and low, low, low prices.
Harbor Trucks is the place to buy.
Flagler Construction Equipment is your certified Volvo equipment dealer, servicing 55 counties in Florida. With Volvo, you get brute strength combined with bulletproof durability. That means low downtime and optimal production. Flagler Construction Equipment is the partner for all your Volvo sales, service, and rental needs, and your first and last stop for legendary customer service and support. Push boundaries with Volvo. Get to know Flagler Construction Equipment by stopping by one of our 6 locations or visit us on the web at www.flaglerce.com.
So Bob, why don't you tell me a little bit about Helmmaster's 3 features under set point? Let's talk a little bit about fish point. If I want to fish a wreck or I want to fish a marker for catching bait, why don't you tell me how I'm going to achieve that?
That's a good question, Rick. As you see, we have a structure in front of us right now, a sunken vessel. And the feature allows us to either go bow to the structure so that we can fish off the bow or stern, either way.
So how do we decide how we're going to do that? If
Well,
we got the wind, we just point what feature we want into the wind?
Absolutely.
What part of the boat?
Exactly.
Well, I like the way that works. So if we're going to actually fish for snappers and groupers, and I want to fish off of the bow and the wind, it's blowing really hard, I'm going to push bow 2 and it'll hold me into the wind, correct?
That's correct.
Sounds like a great invention. I'm glad to be part of it. And listen, if you guys have any questions about Helmmaster, simply go to YamahaOutboards.com.
All right, if you're looking for Dolphin in the East region, look no further because the big uns have arrived and Captain Mike Holliday is here to elaborate. Bump, set, go for it, Mike.
Yeah, that's the truth. The Dolphin bite finally picked up this week with a good mix of fish of all sizes, and we're starting to see some of those big fish that we're used to catching in the spring, like the 56-pounder caught by Stephanie Langle. She caught it last weekend in the Fishing Frenzy. A lot of the school fish are coming off the big mats of sargassum weed that are out there. I spoke with 2 different people this week who encountered schools of 100 or more dolphin. One of those schools was in 210 feet of water off Fort Pierce. The other was in 700 feet of water off Palm Beach. So the fish are obviously very spread out. The key right now is to cover a lot of water until you encounter fish. You can do that by trolling ballyhoo or strip baits in a skirt or even Japanese feathers or lures like a Dolphin Junior, something like that. Stop at the first thing that looks good. Work it for 15 to 20 minutes. Just give it a little bit of time. If you don't get a bite, move out to deeper water. Keep moving until you find the fish. And then when you do find the fish, stay in that depth. It seems like the fish are traveling in a certain depth each day. Average dolphin right now is 10 to 20 pounds, but there were 4 fish this week that were caught that were over 50 pounds. So the big ones are out there and not necessarily out real deep. On the other thing we got going, on the north end of my region, from Jensen Beach up to Vero Beach, the grouper bite's been hot for the last 2 weeks. Most of the fish are black or gag grouper. The best action's along the natural reefs in 80 to 180 feet of water. And there's been some, a few nice grouper caught also on the artificial reefs and along the model bottom that's just outside of Bethel Shoals. And it seems like, the fish are still ganged up, so when you catch one, you're usually going to catch more. And with grouper, the bigger fish like big baits, so a pinfish, a croaker, a grunt, even a small blue runner, those are all deadly offerings. Even dead, those baits will work. And you want to watch the current direction because we've had a lot of south current this week. That tends to shut down the bottom bite. So if you find that, move on. Average grouper is 12 to 20 pounds. But I got a photo there of a pretty good one. That's Dave Baxter of Vero Beach. He caught that 30-pound gag grouper on the Lady Chris party boat out of Fort Pierce. That fish came out of 80 feet of water, and it ate a live pinfish.
That's awesome. Hollywood, I never caught a gag that big, and he's catching them off a party boat. Awesome.
He's got to love to see it on party boats.
Yeah, man. Tell me about the inshore snook fishing.
Well, we're into the 3rd week of May. We still aren't seeing the numbers of 27 to 35-inch snook that we should be, but there's more showing up, seems like, every day. I was talking to Captain George Gotts of Flatline Charters in Jensen Beach. He was saying he's finding some good fish up on the St. Lucie River, but, the fish that are typically around the inlets this time of the year, those slot fish, they're not there. It's mostly small males. There's also been some good fish taken on the seawalls of the Loxahatchee River in Jupiter. Most of those fish are taken on topwater plugs or die dappers reeled down right down the seawall. And also the seawalls on the intercoastal off Hope Sound have had some real nice fish on them. excuse me, right at first light. And with all the rain we've had, the spillways in Palm Beach and Martin counties, they're producing some good snook, along with, you know, a lot of sub-slot fish. Seems like there's a lot of fish around the spillways. A lot of them are small, but there are some big ones in there. Big jigs and swimming plugs are what's working around the spillways. There's also been a decent nighttime bite on the docks off Fort Pierce Inlet. That's been on jigs, mullet, and pinfish. Average snook right now in my region is 18 to 28 inches. But I got a photo just so you know that there are some big snook around. And you haven't seen her in a while, Rick, but that's me and my daughter, Sydney, with a big snook that we got from the Indian River this weekend. And that fish ate a mullet head on the bottom.
It's so good. It's so good seeing you guys fishing together. I love it. You've been doing it since she was a baby girl, man.
That's it. She's my fishing partner, man. Every time she comes in town, she requests that we go out fishing. It makes me feel really good. Touches my heart.
Cute.
So the other thing, every May we get this good run of triple tail in the Indian River between Jensen Beach Causeway and South Bridge and Fort Pierce. A lot of the fish are on the crab trap buoys, but it seems like the larger fish are on the channel markers and on the manatee zone signs. On the calm days, those triple tail will be up on the surface and you can sight cast them. But most days, the fish are deep enough below the surface you can't even see them. So you're just better off throwing to every buoy or marker that you come across just in case they're down deep. By far the best bait's a live shrimp, either fished on a cork or on a jig head. You can also throw a small brown or a chartreuse jig or one of those jigging spoons that the guys use for pompano. Average triple tail right now is 3 to 10 pounds, but they're catching them up to 20 pounds.
All right, Hollywood. Every week we ask you to find the best, hottest bass place. Where is it this week?
Man, I will tell you, in Florida, the water levels have been dropping on Lake Okeechobee. It's falling below the 13-foot level for the first time we've seen it all year. The rain may change that later in the week. That's got the bass moving to deeper water around the outer edges of the grass lines, although there are still some big bass up in the shallows up around the bluegill bed. I was talking to Captain Mike Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He was saying topwater plugs and logger toads in black, brown, or white are working around the shallow potholes that around the bluegill beds. And if you're going to fish the shallow stuff, you really need to approach that stuff quietly so you don't spook the fish. You can also throw in an unweighted Senko or trick worm rig, wacky style, in black and blue or watermelon. And then along the outer grass lines of the North Shore and on Grassy Island, live shiners are accounting for large numbers of bass, as well as some big bass up to 8 pounds. The key is to find the clear water, let your shiners swim up into the cover. Right now it's 30 to 40 bass a morning with a 2-pound average. So, the Big Lake's got the best bass bite going in the state.
Sounds like the East region's on fire. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Atlas Jack Plate hotspots from the East region. Inshore, big snook at the C23 spillway in Palm City. Throw big jigs, swim baits, or swimming plugs into the moving current, and then offshore, kingfish along the edge of the reef off of Jupiter. Live sardines, Spanish sardines, mullets, and pilchards are gonna work for those guys.
The East region's always on fire. What you talking about?
That's because you live there.
That's because I live there.
That's right.
All right, structure, weeds, birds, blue water, any or all of the above will get you a dolphin in the Yeti Panhandle region. So, Captain Pat, give us a little more direction.
Hey, Brie, dolphin fishing in the Panhandle pretty much runs May through August, and sometimes well into the fall, depending on the wet weather and temperatures. Hands down, the most dependable time is June and July. Generally, it's a good run offshore to find dependable dolphin fishing, 30-plus miles. Although lately there have been some decent mahi caught within probably the last couple of weeks within 10 miles of the beach. Typically, you want to find some floating structure in 300-plus feet of water. And right now, there's a bubble of blue water between the nipple, the elbow, the Ozark, and the spur. It's kind of a big, circle of blue water surrounded by green water, and there's been quite a bit of activity in there lately. Find that blue water, look for weed lines, rips, really anything floating, and it may be holding some dolphins. Something as small as a 5-gallon bucket or a pallet could be money. Use trolled ballyhoo, naked or skirted, small 5 to 8-inch lures, or find the fish on some type of floating structure. Bring in your spread and then start throwing big jigs on a spinning rod. That's a great way to catch them. And there's a photo of Captain Roy Stanke of Destin and his fiancée Jordan Thomas with a really pretty dolphin they caught this past week on those grass lines out by the spur. And they did that. They pulled in their lure spread and just sight cast with spinning rods and had a great time.
What else you got for us offshore there, Patar?
Rick, the wahoo fishing's been pretty good. So while you're offshore looking for dolphin, or if you're out there, amberjack fishing or bottom fishing, be on the lookout for some wahoos. Look for similar surface conditions as you do for dolphin. Pretty much, if you find some floating structure, chances are it could have wahoos on it. But also target the bottom breaks in the deeper wrecks, like the Ozark, the Oriskany, and the cutoff rigs southwest of Pensacola. If it's all open water, target bottom structure like the elbow, the knuckle, Rusty's Ridge. If you're going to target the wahoos, bump the speed up a little bit, troll your ballyhoos and ballyhoo lure combinations a little faster. Jet heads and tremblers on wire also work real well. And if you want to kind of cover both bases, dolphin and wahoo, off your flat lines, pull a deep dive and Rapala, like a 30 or a 20. Those are very effective at slower speeds for the wahoos. Reds and blacks, purple and blacks, or blue and silver are all good color combinations. And there's been some big wahoos caught this past week, up to and over 60 pounds. So that's been pretty good. Moving inshore, the Spanish mackerel have been good this past week on the incoming tide at Destin. You want to fish the tide line, especially as it passes north of Crab Island. Trolling Christmas tree rigs above a Clark spoon or a jig has been really effective. Further into the bay, target the points like 4 Mile Point, Cobb's Point, White Point, chum them with menhaden, and then either fish free-line baits or cast spoons or mirrodines. And the Spanish are running up to about 4 pounds, but there's been a bunch of smaller fish around. So it's a good time to get your offshore baits as well. And then staying inshore, and finally, it's been dry. We did have some rain this week, unlike, you guys have been getting lots of rain in South Florida. But because of the dry weather, the trout have been up in the upper parts of the bay, and it's been pretty good trout fishing. But the recent rains very well might push them further down into the bay. They're concentrated on the points, the deep water drops, the mud flats, and the grass flats. And this seems to be consistent in all the bays throughout the Panhandle. I spoke to Captain Eddie Woodall of Full Net Charters in Pensacola, and he's been targeting the flats and docks east of 3 Mile Bridge and catching really nice stringers of big trout. In Choctawhatchee Bay, the best trout fishing is going to be around Sandestin, and then east towards Freeport, where there's some freshwater influence from the rivers, but I've also heard some really good reports from the Eglin Flats up on the north side of the bay. Either way, you want to look for mullet schools in 3 to 5 foot of water, fish topwater baits first light, and switch to twitch baits or soft plastic baits later in the morning or throughout the day. And there's been some really nice 26-inch plus trout being caught, a lot of fish over 20 inches. So the trout fishing has been real good.
All right, thank you for a great report from the Yeti Panhandle region, Patar. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore, a mile east of 3 Mile Bridge, on the grass flats for trout on topwater skidder walks at daylight. And then offshore, amberjack fishing remains off the chain. Use live hardtails, herring, and speed jigs. What is a hardtail?
I don't know.
A blue runner.
Like a
blue runner.
Garbolating or something. I'm not sure.
It's blue runner. It's a runner running blue.
Oh, all right.
Go ahead.
Good to know. The Southwest region is up next, so don't reel in those lines just yet. We'll be right back on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Suffix. Always use the best line. The IGFA. Fish for the future. Flagler Construction Equipment, your exclusive Volvo dealer. And Okuma. Inspired fishing.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
Outside is a bully. There are bears, screaming in fleet-footed waters. Arrogant mountains. Goliaths. 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 And 100 other excuses to stay inside. But there are ways to deal with bullies.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines.
Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Harbor Trucks features the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
And this month, it's invoice pricing for everyone.
That's right, you pay what we pay.
Get a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan for only $26,500.
No games, no gimmicks, just hassle-free buying at low, low, low prices.
Check us out now at HarborTrucks.com and enter to win a 2018 Nissan Titan XD 4x4 diesel.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week, we're going to talk about customer service. I've been with Power Pole since 2000, and from a tiny little company to a big corporation, the one thing I can tell you about Power Pole is their customer service has been second to none. I'm on the water 300 days a year. I'm at tackle stores. I'm doing fishing seminars. I'm at boat shows. No matter where I am, folks are coming up to me, and they're sharing their wonderful experience they've had either visiting the factory, talking to somebody at the counter, talking to someone on the phone, or through email. And if that's not enough, now you can download the Sea Monster app, which enables you, no matter where you are in the world, to diagnose your power pole with the Sea Monster app, send the info to a service tech at Power Pole, and they're going to have your problem solved for you. And that's today's Power Pole tip of the week.
I love that point.
Problem solved.
Tip of the week. All right, if you really want a Dorado hookup in the Bell's Southwest region, now is the time to listen up to your trusty captain, Ronnie Houston. Tell him, Ronnie.
Well, it's always grateful to be here representing the Bell's Southwest region, but you know what? Dolphin generally in the Southwest region is not an everyday species to be caught, but guys do it, and if you're interested in doing it, I'm going to give you some information on how you can get it done. You want to start in depths of about 110 feet out to 200 feet. Now, you're not looking for big piles of debris. You're not looking for big weed lines. You're looking for patches, smaller areas, areas that will hold bait or contain bait, nothing like what the East Coast holds. And these might go for miles. But also, while looking for those small patches, you want to also look for groups of birds. You want to get in these areas when you find the small patches or the groups of birds and small troll feathers, probably on about 50-pound mono. And the best colors to use are blue and white and black and red. But also, when you get in those areas and you find the schools, a simple 3-ounce pink or chartreuse jig with chunks of squid on it will suffice, or simply some chunks of squid to catch the schoolies, and they will be abundant. But also when you're in these schools of dolphin, it's very common in these areas to have some blackfin tuna or an occasional sailfish, so it's always good to have a good pitch spinning rod combo with about 50-pound leader. I suggest a 6.0 to 7.0 VNC circle hook. So they'll hook up either a live herring or a live pilchard just in case you come across one of these blackfins or a sailfish. But it can be done here in the Southwest region. Now, staying on the offshore side, we're going to talk about the permit. You know, the bite's starting to pick up all the way around with the weather improving. The tarpon bite's good to the north, but also on the offshore side, the permit bite's been great. So bite remains great from Stump Pass to Fort Myers Beach. Here's some of these key depths that I've been getting reports on this week. 45 to 60 feet of water. Fishing wrecks. Make sure you get out there on the moderate weather. Some reports are saying if you get out to some of these areas first and they haven't been pressured, a lot of these permits are sitting on top. You want to get in some of these areas and either anchor up, make several drifts across the structure, free line or just a little weight. Prime bait's going to be the live crab. If you can't get any live crabs and you get in some of these areas where the fish haven't been pressured, a simple live shrimp will suffice. This is a run-and-gun bite. Reports I've gotten in the last couple days in between the rainstorms, which we've needed a lot, fish up to 35 pounds. Now, on the inshore side, the tarpon. Captain Josh Greer from West Wall Outfitters reports from Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass. You want to concentrate on beaches, passes, but also with the rain and stuff, there's been some laid-up fish in the backcountry. In case there's too much pressure on the coast, get in the backcountry area. Live baits like pinfish and thread fins, but he specializes in fly and says crab patterns like the classic tarpon toad fly. But with the cloud cover we've had in the last couple of days, especially with the rain, he says darker colors like black and purple, olive and black have been working well. Fish have been averaging anywhere from 40 to 140 pounds, and I got a couple pictures. First one picture should be Ian Griffin from Pennsylvania with a great tarpon. and then also one of those smaller tarpon in the backcountry caught by Logan Totten. So either way, if you can't get them on the outside, get up on the inside and you'll have your opportunities. Also on the inshore side, the redfish, coon key to rabbit key fishing the outer Gulf Islands. On the last half of the incoming to the first half of the outgoing, concentrating your efforts on deadwood, oyster bars, and mullet schools, using live pilchards, cut ladyfish, and shrimp, specifically on a knocker rig. But for the artificial guy, gold spoons, chartreuse skitterwalks, and the new penny-colored bass assassin she said on her jig head will also work. Got a couple pics down south while fishing with Captain Brian Sanders. Here's a couple photos of some nice redfish that have been caught here in the last couple of weeks.
So, Ronnie, I do have a couple questions for you. The first one is, certainly we've got some rain. We were just over there filming a Sportsman's Adventure episode. What about the smoke? Is it still happening from the forest fires that they were having a little north of your region?
Well, you know what? A lot of that's starting to slow down now. We've got a bunch of much-needed rain we've needed for a long time. I could take rain every day right now. It's forecasted all week, so we should be getting rid of most of that smoke. And fishing is going to change considerably, so you better listen in the next couple of weeks and how that fresh water is going to change the bite all the way through the southwest region.
That's really some good advice. One last question quickly on the fresh water. How's that going to change your fishing? You going to move a little closer to the Gulf?
Well, I'm going to move more to the mouth of the rivers where the fish should be coming out, but also in the backcountry. Now the water isn't going to be as stagnant. I'm going to be fishing these areas where the water's been low, but it's now coming up. People are going to think these fish are going to push to the outside. A lot of these fish are going to be waiting on turns and bends in the current, especially with that new fresh water that's flowing, and it cools down the water temperature a little bit in the backcountry. So look for current in the backcountry and current on the outer points of the outer rivers.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Calusa cast nets hotspots from the southwest region. Offshore, Tripletail, Fort Myers Beach to Goodland, beach line out to 12 miles. Fishing the wrecks, markers, crab pots, and swim buoys using live shrimps. And then inshore, trout, Lossman's to Pavilion Key, fishing grass flats mid-morning. On the incoming tide, use noise-making corks with artificial shrimps and paddle tails.
Paddle tails?
Paddle tails.
Shoot.
You need a paddle tail. When was the last time you tailed?
Okay, we're coming to a close here on the Florida Fishing Insider Fishing Report, but the Mahi Madness is not over because we want to see you out there catching them this weekend. But stay tuned to see what we're catching next week. We will be right back. You need a paddle tail.
Sassy.
Harbor Trucks is giving away a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan XD with the Cummins Turbo Diesel.
To enter, like our Facebook page and visit harbortrucks.com for more ways to win.
With the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
An on-site towing and test course.
Hassle-free buying and low, low, low prices.
Harbor Trucks is the place to buy.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster. Now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
When you're paid to put fish in the boat, you don't mess around with the thing that puts fish in the boat. Always use the best line.
Thanks for tuning in to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes, special segments, and updated fishing reports from your region right on our homepage. Just head to FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Make sure to tune in next week because we are talking bonefish. How about that, Rick?
I'm not going to be here. You
Oh,
and
yeah.
Tommy
I
are going to be
forgot.
talking
You're gonna be
bonefish.
I know they make a good marlin bait.
I'm going to ask Randy why he doesn't like bonefish. It's always been a mystery to me. Don't tell me. I want to know.
Okay.
All right. Well, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to our Dolphin Show, our amazing audience that's here.
Yeah,
and
thank
of
you
course,
guys
the
so much for
Columbus High
coming.
School Fishing Club was here over on the boat with us. We love always having them in the studio. We'll see you guys next week. Talk talking bonefish, you're not going to be here. Woohoo!